Hi, my name's Jimmy Thomson. I'm a reporter based in Victoria, BC. In February of 2020, I received a grant from the Pulitzer Center for Crisis Reporting and Humber College. The grant was for a multimedia story on Indigenous guardians, looking to answer the question how much of the territory of BC's Central Coast is patrolled by the nearby First Nations. Not the Coast Guard, not the Park Service, the communities themselves. I specialize in stories about how communities interact with the environment around them. Indigenous guardians are a really special example of that. They monitor the lands and waters of their own communities. They do scientific work, monitoring fisheries, mining, and logging. They perform rescues and help people out of trouble. I think it's one of the most exciting developments in conservation in Canada in recent decades. For this story, I took a tiny plane to the village of Owakino. It's a remote village of less than 300 people north of Vancouver Island. I had been there once before to shoot a video about the community's off-grid power system, but I'd always wanted to go back. The original plan was to go to 3 communities, but after COVID happened, I really didn't want to be the guy who spread the virus between multiple remote First Nations. I agreed to strict rules, like doing my interviews outside, not going into people's houses, testing before coming, and I avoided contact for 2 weeks before I arrived. This was a multimedia story, and I was working alone. That meant shooting all of my own photos, video, and drone shots, while also conducting as many interviews as I could fit into 1 week. There was no coming back for a second try, or texting someone with follow-up questions, or coming back for another observation of something interesting in the community. They have no cell service. Many people keep in touch using walkie-talkies, so I had to get it right the first time. On a couple of occasions, I was able to go on patrol with the Guardians. They're young, just in their 20s, and so eager to work for their community. We checked out an abandoned logging camp with trucks rusting out on the shore. We chatted with locals and visitors out fishing in the inlet's famous fishing grounds. We spotted some whales, with sea lions following closely behind. And they took me to a site that's really important to the Owakino, a tiny island at the mouth of the inlet. They have cultural camps here, and the Guardians like to check in on it. They also did simple, necessary tasks around the community, like picking up elders' trash and bringing it to the dump. Grizzly bears frequent the dump. They've even mauled members of the First Nation. So the Guardians do it. It's amazing to me that most Canadians still have no idea what Guardians are, or what they're doing. I once asked the former Environment Minister, Catherine McKenna, about their role. She said she can't imagine establishing a new national park without incorporating Indigenous guardians into the core of the park from the very start. Understanding what they do is so critical to understanding how remote areas are being taken care of, where the gaps are, and how to fill them. At the end of this reporting process, the maps were finally ready. The 3 First Nations, the Kitasoo-Hehes, the Heiltsuk, and Owakino, shared their patrol data with us. My editor, Carol Linnett, and the Narwhal team put it all together. It showed thousands of square kilometers of ocean territory that was being covered in just the span of a few months. That's an area government agencies couldn't hope to cover. The Guardians I was with said they rarely saw government patrols, but there they were, every day, keeping an eye on their own territory.